America great again. Thank you, Arizona. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
In the far distant land of common sense, a place where we all once lived, you'll find the Conservative College with Professor Toto. It is here where the foundational principles of our great republic are still taught and true patriots are still educated in the hallowed halls of this school of hope. Just like the iconic puppy from The Wizard of Oz, who found great joy in pulling back the curtain on the lies of the wizard, so does Professor Toto. Grab your seats and welcome to the Conservative College. Class begins now.
Everybody, welcome, 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 welcome. That's the bell of liberty telling you to rise and shine. It is time for the Conservative College. I am your humble, neighborhood-friendly professor, fluffy professor, Professor Toto. And as of today, I am probably the only one in the world that has an official passport to the land of Oz. Yes, indeed. Official passport to the land of Oz at the end of the Yellow Brick Road, Emerald City, Oz, somewhere over the rainbow. Someone sent that in the mail to me, and I tried to find the envelope that it came in so that I could thank you for this. I loved it. I absolutely loved it. So anyway, so we have an official passport now to the land of Oz. Tonight, there will be no afterglow. I will do an afterglow Thursday night. And the reason is because there is so much breaking news all over the Republic that I just have so much to cover tonight. I want to educate you tonight in my monologue. Going to be very educational. And tonight I'm going to explain to you in the monologue why I titled the class what I titled it tonight. It's so very important what I need to teach you this evening. We titled it 2024, the beginning or the end. Nothing else matters. Tonight, I plan to explain to you why that is not just hyperbole, why it's not just dramatic political season speech, but why it is the absolute truth, why nothing else matters but 2024. And so please stay with me throughout the entire class. When the monologue begins, it's going to be a great educational class tonight. I plan to pull back the curtain on the lying Wizard of Oz and reveal the Wizard of Oz to you tonight. So, going to be a great class. I want to say hello to all of my friends, my partners, my followers, those that my family. We love you all like family. They're watching. Lynn Demisel is watching on YouTube, and Renee Linscomb is over on Facebook, and Natalie Conway is on Facebook, and Camper is on YuckTube, and Ray Ann Van Ness from Texas, good evening, and Debbie Lucero from New Mexico watching on YuckTube. Auda Moser, hello Auda. Matthew Pask, good evening. I want to thank Brother Matthew Pask, his wife, Suri Pask. They moved here to Waveland, Mississippi to be part of our church. And today they opened up their brand new business here in Waveland, her hair salon. And I was her first customer, and she did a marvelous job. So if you live around Waveland, Mississippi, get over there and check out the name of the salon. Are you ready? Get over there to dum-da-dum-dum-dum. Are you ready? The 1776 salon. I love it. I love it. I want some more of it. I tried. I love it. The 1776 salon. Yeah. So awesome. Thank you, brother and sister Pass. Good evening to see you. Great to see you this evening. Elizabeth Brody. Hello, Elizabeth. Thank you, Brother Adam Wingo. Nancy Ruff. Hello, Darmay from Jersey. Truth Defender. Debbie Lucero. Finally got her a shout out. I love it. Doreen Aniquich. Hello to you. Hello, John Berlin. Brother Berlin. So good to see you, Larry Wilburn. Joel Walarino from Jakarta, Indonesia. Well, hello. I hope I didn't butcher your name too badly. Let's see. Let me try it again. Joel Walarino. No. Walarino. No. Walaruno. Walaruno. Okay. Thank you for watching in the nation of Indonesia. Brother Kenneth Huff. Hello, my starving artist is reporting for class. Hello, Kay Martin. Good evening. Kay Martin says, how about Vivek as vice president? Well, he could be vice president, but he cannot be president. He is not a natural born citizen. Robert McLeod, Edward Fry. Good evening, David Urbrock and Diana Lynn Carter. Good evening. Brother Clay McCullough, Walter Betancourt, Jeffrey Dew, Melissa Mama Dot's out there tonight. All right. Well, everybody, let's get ready to rock and roll this evening. Tonight, I have a huge, I need somebody to buy me a drum roll so I can do my own drum rolls. Because tonight, your humble neighborhood professor has a huge I told you so. I'm talking about like a big one. Big, I told you so. Big one. So, since I don't have a drum roll, I told you so. Oh, I told you so. I told you 3 years ago We were the first podcaster in America to tell you. Trust me, we've done the research. We've Googled. Nobody was talking about January the 6th before Professor Toto. Nobody was talking about something called the power of Pence before Professor Toto. As a matter of fact, I was the very first one to get fact-checked on what I said about Mike Pence having the power to return slate of electors to the individual states if those states did not meet the legal requirements for their slate of electors. We were the first. Now, they fact-checked me and basically admitted that I was right, but they also said that that would probably never come to that. I don't know if y'all remember that fact check. But I explained to you that in the United States Constitution, every state in our union has the power to decide on the rules of voting, what's a legal vote, what's not. Only the state legislatures have that authority. The state legislatures have the authority to choose the slate of electors that's chosen by the legislature. Well, anyway, so in the last 3 years, I've had many people try to tell me I was wrong, that Pence did not have that power. And of course, you've heard the same thing at CNN and different places. Well, ladies and gentlemen, finally, after 3 long, arduous years, finally, from his very own mouth in an interview on Fox News, Mike Judas Pence, a traitor to the United States of America, a traitor to our great republic, admitted from his own mouth that he had the power and he chose not to use it. I'm going to play a little video clip for you where Mike Pence admits in this interview, he admits it with a straight face, that many states held illegal elections in 2020. He admitted that the laws of the legislature were not followed and that those states sent illegal electors to the House of Representatives. Yet he chose to stand down and certify those illegal results. He chose that. It makes him a coward, a traitor, and a tool of the deep state. In this interview, he says that he could have rejected the 2020 electors. He says it from his own mouth. He could have rejected them. Now, I thought in previous interviews, he said he didn't have the power to do that. In this interview, he says that he could have rejected those electors from contested states that made illegal changes to election laws and they saw election fraudery. He says that. Still, he refused to do it. And he opted instead to bow down to the Coke money and to the Tim Shorts of the world. He chose to bow down and complete the process of installing Joe Biden as America's illegitimate president. During a recent interview with Fox News, Martha McCallum, to be exact, he admitted that the steps were laid out in what's known as the Pence card memo. He said that those steps were legitimate and he could have chosen to do them, but he chose not to. Now, he said that if he would have done that, now listen carefully, he says that if he would have done that, then it would have thrown the election to the Congress. Duh. Absolutely, Mike Judas, because that's what the Constitution said should happen in the case of contested electors. that it goes to the House of Representatives, which would have given Donald Trump the election because we had a majority in the House of Representatives. But Pence said he opted not to do it because here's what he said, and I quote, "It wasn't just that they asked me to pause the certification. The president specifically asked me and his gaggle of crackpot lawyers to literally reject votes, which would have resulted in the issue being turned over to the House of Representatives, Martha. Could you imagine, Martha? If I would have done what they wanted me to do, it would have thrown the election to the House of Representatives, Martha." I swear, that almost sounds like what Professor Toto said 3 years ago. That's what was supposed to happen. Now we have the man himself saying, if I would have done what they wanted me to do, it would have thrown the election to the House of Representatives exactly like the Constitution demands. That's not a quote. I added that at the end. He said these words, and I quote, "If I had done it, literally chaos would have erupted." In other words, I was a coward of the fallout. I was a coward of the consequences. He said, and that's in quotes, literal chaos would have ensued. Sometimes chaos is a good thing when it brings us to a solution. Sometimes what looks like chaos is really the cure for the problem. So I'm going to play to you just a brief clip, okay, where Mike Pence says out of his own mouth that the states sent illegal votes to the House of Representatives. Listen carefully.
Across the country that conducted their elections outside of how the state legislatures had approved them.
One more time. He said that the slate of electors that came to the House of Representatives were illegal. Listen carefully.
Across the country that conducted their elections outside of how the state legislatures had approved them.
Really? You just admitted in the interview that the state legislatures had sent electors with results that were outside of how the legislatures had approved them? You just confessed to the whole world that you broke the law and that everyone broke the law on that day. The Constitution says if there is a contested elector, and there was, senators stood up to contest those electors. In those states that did exactly what you just admitted, they cast votes illegally outside of what the state legislatures had approved. Just one more time, please.
Across the country that conducted their elections outside of how the state legislatures had approved them.
Wow. Mike, what do they have on you, Mike? Is there something from way? I mean, what do they have on you, Mike? What did the Koch brothers have? I mean, you just admitted to the world that these states sent electors outside of what the legislatures, the law demanded. So anyway, all of this will come out in Trump's trials, by the way, and Mike Pence will have to go on the stand under oath and say those exact same words again to the whole wide world. Believe me, it's coming. All right. Now, real quickly, I've got to hurry. My monologue needs to start in a few minutes. We have breaking news, more breaking news from the state of Michigan. Hello, Michigan. All my Michigan, Toto's Army, Michigan, wake up. I'm going to play something for you. Michigan, major breaking news. It really is. It's rather shocking what has been found in the state of Michigan. And by the way, all this is going to come out. Oh, I just love it. It's all going to come out at trial. Listen carefully.
Stop. Did you know thousands of Americans are piggybacking off an IRS?
Jim Hoff, explosive story on Gateway Pundit. Why don't you set the table? Because this thing has taken a lot of investigations. I know we got a couple of the investigators up here, but why don't you just walk us through it?
Right, Steve. This is a huge story, and it's there was a great American who once said, "There are no conspiracies and there are no coincidences." And I think we know who that person is. But this is amazing that this would come out now, the week after Jack Smith came out with that bogus report saying that Trump lied about voter fraud and election irregularities in 2020. We reported, Steve, as you know, in the past 3 years, we were the ones who broke the State Farm video where they're shoving ballots, stacks of ballots three times through machines. We were the ones who reported the TCF Center, the video of the late night ballot drop. That was Gateway Pundit. And Gateway Pundit also was the only organization that brought you the Detroit ballot box stuffers. We had video of that. Today we have this amazing report, Steve. And what we have is that in October of 2020, some women brought in some stacks of these registrations in Muskegon, Michigan, into the city clerk's office. And the city clerk noticed that they all had the same handwriting, and we're talking 8 to 10,000. She immediately had red flags. She contacted the state police. They started an investigation. Now, no one has ever reported on this except for one little blip in the local news at the time. Well, we have the police report now, and it is amazing, Steve. The police
Hold it, hang
the
on.
office.
Whoa, hang on. I just want to make sure. In October of 2020, several weeks before the election, some women walked into a registrar the voter place in the county and dropped off 8,000 to 10,000 voter registrations?
We're talking about tens of thousands, we believe. But in that office, the report says 8 to 10,000. And they believe that they don't give an exact number, but numerous of these registrations were filled out by hand. And they confronted this person. They called the police. The police then raided one of these offices. And Steve, we found out the name of the organization. It's also linked to 2 other Democrat organizations. One of these organizations is directly linked to... Hold it.
Slow down. When you say raided the office, didn't raid the registrar's office where the 8 to 10,000 were, raided the office of the women that had brought it in?
Exactly. They found the 2 offices locally where they were filling out these registrations. When they went into these offices, Steve, they found semi-automatic weapons. They found silencers. They found bags of these prepaid cash cards. They found burner phones. And so it's unbelievable, this story. And we also know that this group had several offices across Michigan. We also know that this same group and its GBI strategies had offices in other swing states. Steve, they were filling out registrations. And of course, as you know, and as Gateway Pundit has reported extensively on, this is, they need these bloated voter rolls in order to cheat and steal.
Yes.
And I believe that. That's
yes.
Something I firmly believe
no,
at this
it's
point. That's why
it's the predicate. When you get the mail-in, the phony ballot harvesting, the mail-in ballots, the predicate, you got to get the phony registrations. That's what they're doing in the college towns. That's what they did in Nevada. That's what they did in Pennsylvania. That's what they've done.
Right.
That is a predicate. It has to be done. But hang on, slow down for a second. The police are enough worried because the registrar has, because to drop off 8 to 10,000 ballots, I mean, you're backing up a panel truck, right? I mean, I take it's every day you don't get dropped 8 to 10,000. wouldn't GBI strategies, if somebody's putting up big money to do this, tell these guys, hey, maybe you ought to take them in onesies, twosies, or maybe 250 at a time. To drop off 10,000 is a bit much. Isn't that going to naturally arise some suspicion?
Well, Steve, the other thing we found is, I mean, of course you're right. The other thing we found is they weren't just dropping off these registrations in the local offices. They were packaging them up and sending them to counties around the state. Can you imagine that this was going on? And then the state officials, Nessel and Whitmer and Jocelyn Benson, are saying that it was, a free and fair election and all this crap is going on, and they've never reported on this. Again, we have the police report, and it's unbelievable, Steve. When you start.
So, okay, let me explain it all to you. Give me 1 second. Okay. So, hold on 1 second. What am I hearing in my ear here? Oh, there it is. All right. So this police report was never released. No one's ever seen it. These investigators go to searching. They find the police report where 10,000 ballots were dropped off. Someone sounded the alarm. They were overwritten. The ballots were counted, and now the ballots are illegal. I mean, this is just one instance. So Michigan, you got problems. Ohio, I'm so disappointed. The vote just came in and y'all did not pass issue 1. That's disappointing to say the least. So anyway, folks, I don't know what's going on in the world, but it's getting crazier every day. I want to talk to you tonight about 2024. And right now, if you're watching me, do me a favor. When you hit the like button, I try not to ask all this stuff because I don't like to do it. But we have found out that on Rumble, especially Rumble, when you hit the like button, I just found out. So I got an email from Rumble about 3 weeks ago that they were featuring my content in their, I don't even know how it all works. I really don't. I've never fooled with any of that, but my videos were getting so much feedback that they featured it in whatever they do. Anyway, so I found out every time you hit the like button, that tells Rumble, and every time you share, that it tells Rumble there must be something good on this show. So from now on, would you if you get anything out of these classes, would you make it your duty to hit that like button and share? Because come to find out, we were getting shared. They just come out with the top 20 podcasts on Rumble, and we were number 13. So that's a good thing. So anyway, that's real good. So anyway, just wanted to share that with you tonight, if you don't mind helping us out a little bit. So let's talk about 2024 and why I believe it is the most important election since 1860. And I'll talk about the 1860 election a little bit tonight. We are officially in the middle of the most revolutionary time in America. There's a revolution going on. There's a dividing of our nation that I believe is irreparable without a miracle from God. There's a hidden agenda. And that hidden agenda doesn't come from the minds of men, but it is whispered into the minds of men by the princes of the power of the air. The Bible tells us that these fallen angels desire to destroy mankind. That's the reason they taught us how to make nuclear weapons. There's a reason that America must be destroyed. Now, I'm not going to go into theology with you tonight, but if you would like to know why I believe that America is so special above all other nations of the world, including Israel. If you want to know what is my theology behind that, why do I believe that America and Trump is so important? You can go to my website, which is fhtv.tv. And when you get there, look under categories across the top, and you'll find a category called Tracking the Tribes. Let me see if I can get you a QR code right there, right there. Bam, 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 right there. Click on that, go to fhtv.tv, and when you get there, you'll see categories across the top. Scroll over till you see Tracking the Tribes. Go into that category and start with part 1. Your mind will be blown. I give you my promise. Your mind will be blown when you get done with that series about America. America is not your run-of-the-mill nation. America is very special in the end-time purposes of Yahweh. Because of that, America must be destroyed by the powers that be. Those powers are unseen. Those powers have no power by themselves. They are disembodied spirits. The Bible says, now if you don't believe the Bible, then you're not going to believe anything I'm teaching. You're just a reprobate. So, but if you have faith in the word of Yahweh, this tells us that Satan entered Judas's heart. If you'll read your Bible, Judas was a good man. Judas was not an evil man. He was such a good man that Yeshua, Jesus, gave Judas the purse, the money. He was the treasurer, secretary treasurer. So he couldn't have been all bad, right? But one night, right before the crucifixion, the Bible says Satan entered his mind. Okay? Now, at that moment, Judas becomes a tool in the hands of this spiritual entity called Satan that wants to destroy Yeshua, Jesus. So all of a sudden now Judas becomes a partner in the plans of evil because his mind was not protected. And therefore, now the plans of Satan are being implemented through the mind of a man. Now, there are men in America that have that evil mind. And Satan uses their charisma, their influence to destroy America. Over the past 60 years, while America has been asleep, and while our patriots have been quiet and restful and living in la la land, while our citizenry has reveled in peace and prosperity, the Marxist, socialist, demonic agenda, after decades of living in the shadows, has successfully infiltrated many of our nation's vital institutions, promoting creepy immorality and societal corruption. I did a show a few weeks ago called Our Children Are Not for Sale. You can find it at FHTV. And I showed you all the leaders of America that have been so caught up in sexual deviancy. Now, I find it interesting that the very daughter of Joe Biden, in her diaries that was obtained by Project Veritas, James O'Keefe, in her diary, this is her words. This is what she wrote about her father, Joe. I was so afraid of him coming into the shower with me that I would wait till late at night to take my shower. Now, Ashley has admitted that that was her diary. And as we look at the deviancy that's ruling our nation, we are in trouble. 2024 will be the end or the beginning. And you must determine in your mind why it will be the end or the beginning. If you don't know the why, you will not figure out the how. You have to know why this election is so important for you to get involved, for you to move beyond whatever issues you have with Donald Trump and move beyond the man and whatever you don't like about him and see the bigger picture. You must see who is behind it all. There is one man in this nation, one man. It's not Joe Biden. There is one man in this nation that was raised by homosexuals. His nanny was a cross-dresser. One man that was raised by, set under the ministry of American-hating preachers. There's one man in this nation, one that is running the evil side of America. He came out of nowhere. You already know who I'm talking about. He was literally unknown and supernaturally, against all odds, this strong man arose. He came on the scene from the shadows. And all of a sudden, captured America. This man is the architect behind the demise of America. No, it's not George Soros. George Soros is the money behind it. But there is one man that Satan literally took over his mind from drug use from a child. Please go watch all of my series on Barack Obama, the bloody footprints of Obama, and those shows that were so wonderful. But I want to show you right now why 2024 is so very, very important.
Would ask me, knowing what you know now, do you wish like you had a third term? And I used to say, you know what, if I could make an arrangement where I had a stand-in, a front man or front woman, and they had an earpiece in, and I was just in my basement in my sweats looking through the stuff, and then I could sort of deliver the lines, but somebody else was doing all the talking and ceremony. Wow. I'd be fine with that. And I told Barack, if I reach something where there's a fundamental disagreement we have based on a moral principle, I'll develop some disease and say I have to resign.
Well, President-elect Joe Biden, rather. This is an honor and a privilege, and I love working for President Biden.
We have to do those imminently, more imminently even, to address the full Obama agenda of building back better.
So today, as you all saw just an hour or so ago, President Obama announced that, President Biden.
Now, Nancy said that Build Back Better was President Obama's agenda, because it is. Let me ask you a question. For those of you that may have been asleep a few weeks ago, did you know about a certain lunch date that happened in Washington, D.C.? There was a certain lunch date that very few Americans knows about. No one really noticed it. It was the day before Donald Trump was arraigned in Washington, D.C. last week. Before Donald Trump was arraigned, the day before, there was a news report in the Washington Post that there was a lunch between Obama and Biden. Now, the reason they had this lunch is because former President Barack Obama is very concerned that Donald Trump could return to power. And Obama felt like Biden and all the other Democrats are setting themselves up by mocking Donald Trump. At this meeting, he came to this meeting to wake Joe up, to let him know that Obama believes that Trump is very well going to return to power. Now, there was people at that lunch that said what they heard, and that Obama was very concerned about Donald Trump's political strength with his loyal following, with conservative media, and a polarized country. He said he was very worried that Donald Trump was a more formidable candidate than Democrats give him credit for. But here's the question. Why, all of a sudden, after Obama has been out of sight, out of mind, living in his dungeon, like he said, if I could just live in a dungeon in my sweats and run the country through someone else, that's what I would like to do. So why, after all this time in his dungeon, did he come back into public view for this lunch date with Biden? It's very easy. Because Obama needs to send a signal to all of the Democrats that he plans to finish what he started a day before the Congress counted the Electoral College vote in Trump's 2016 victory. The day before those votes were counted, a conspiracy, a real conspiracy began. I want you to know something tonight, patriots. There was no January the 6th conspiracy, none. But there was a January the 5th conspiracy. If you don't know about the January 5th conspiracy, then you don't know why 2024, it means everything. So tonight I'm going to educate you about the real conspiracy that happened on January the 5th, 2016. Remember, the House gathers on January the 6th, do they not? To do what? Count the electoral votes and to vote in the president. In 2016, before that happened, the day before, Barack Obama, in 2017, met in the Oval Office with the following people: Deputy Attorney General Sally Yates, FBI Director James Comey, Vice President Joe Biden, and National Security Advisor Susan Rice, to discuss one thing: the incoming administration. January the 5th, put that in your notes, 2017. This is the real conspiracy against America. At that meeting, they were speaking about Donald Trump's administration that was coming into power. According to the diary of Susan Rice, I quote to you now. She said, President Obama began our conversation by stressing his continued commitment to ensure that every aspect of this Russian issue to be handled by the intelligence and law enforcement communities by the book. The president stressed that he is not asking about initiating anything from a law enforcement perspective. He reiterated that our law enforcement team needs to proceed normally by the book. But, and this is a big but, in other words, he said, I want to make it clear, we're not going to get involved in the law enforcement side of Donald Trump and Russiagate. But he continues, according to Susan Rice, but rather from a national security perspective. President Obama said he wants to be sure that we engage with the incoming team, Donald Trump's team, but that we remain mindful to ascertain if there is any reason that we cannot share information fully as it relates to Russia. Now, pause. It was Barack Obama that called a meeting to literally castrate the incoming administration. He created, him and Hillary, the Russian collusion. And now on January the 5th, at this meeting, he makes a decision not to share information with the legally elected president. Why? Because he didn't believe, and Hillary didn't believe, this man was legitimately elected. They believed that it would be found out that Trump was elected illegally by Russian interference. The election would be undone, and then they could not give this information to Donald Trump about Russia. Now, Donald Trump coming into the White House, Obama was trying his best to destroy the presidency of Donald Trump with Russiagate, to undermine his successor. Now, John Brennan and every one of them knew that this was a phony story. The FBI knew it, the CIA knew it, Obama knew it. But they took this phony story and started a real conspiracy. Now, on January the 6th, after that meeting, the CIA led an assessment that Obama ordered, and it was released, claiming that Vladimir Putin helped Trump win the election. If you want to talk about a conspiracy, let's talk about it. Because the conspiracy was not January 6th. It was January 5. The day after that meeting, it is released from the CIA that Vladimir Putin brought Trump into the White House. For 6 years, Obama poisoned the public sphere with a conspiracy theory for one purpose: to divide this nation. And from that moment to now, we have been declining into madness in this nation. Now, Obama used this meeting with Biden last week, or whenever it was, to let the world know that he's coming back to get Donald Trump. He let everyone know, I'm still in charge. Don't worry about not voting for Joe Biden because he's incompetent. I want him incompetent because I will finish what I started with Donald Trump. When I said I would transform America, I meant it. That's what this lunch was a signal for all of the Democrat Party elite to calm down and support Joe, because I am still in control. Now, the reason he's in control is because he's got his own Attorney General, Merrick Garland. Remember who put Merrick Garland in to be a Supreme Court justice? Who was it? Who does Merrick Garland owe? Obama. He's got him, and then he's got his special counsel, Jack Smith, and which is married to the producer of the Michelle Obama documentary. Obama has everything in place. Merrick Garland, Jack Smith, and now his own judge in Washington, D.C., by the name of Tanya Chutkan, who now is over the January 6th trial of Donald Trump. Obama needs for his people to know that he's running the show. And the only way, ladies and gentlemen, that the Obama show gets canceled is with the only man they cannot control, Donald Trump. Thanks to Donald John Trump, the unexpected election win of 16, Obama's master plan was derailed because of Donald Trump. How? Because Donald Trump supernaturally, remember I'm using that word supernaturally. Look at the supernatural with Obama and look at the supernatural with Donald Trump. And you will see that we're not in a right and a left war. We are no longer in a Republican-Democrat war. We are in a spiritual battle for this great end-time nation of America. Obama nearly had his agenda completed with the election of Hillary Clinton. It would come to pass. God raised up his chess piece supernaturally with Donald Trump. Donald Trump appointed a Supreme Court supernaturally. 3 people. One died right before he left office, and this was supernatural. It was that court that stopped the Obama agenda. Also, Trump raised up the Circuit Court of Appeals. He appointed more judges than anyone. The district courts, Donald Trump placed enough people in those courts to hold back the hand of evil against this nation. Tonight in my podcast, I have come to tell you that the judiciary is the last of America's vital institutions that has not fallen under control of the radical left. And it's because of Donald John Trump. However, the loss of the judiciary, the last bastion of hope for America, our judiciary, without 2024 and the return of Donald Trump, the judiciary in this nation will fall. I'm going to prove that to you. I've got the raw numbers tonight. I'm fixing to give you the numbers to why I say this is the most important election since 1860, when Abraham Lincoln saved this nation, the Union from falling apart. We are at that point. That is not melodramatic. That is not hyperbole. I'm about to show you where the only thing that has stopped the evil agenda is the judiciary. And we're on the verge of losing it. The next election will determine how the judiciary in this nation turns out. In 2024, nothing else matters but the return of Donald Trump. When I show you the numbers, and you can take notes tonight of where we are in our judiciary, it will make you run to the polls. It'll make you get over whatever you don't like about Trump. Because one thing I can promise you, Trump knows what his agenda is in 2024 to take back the judiciary. The only reason that Joe Biden and Merrick Garland had the temerity to bring charges against Donald Trump, do you know why? Do you know why? Because of the Washington, D.C. District Appeals Court would be willing participants in their plan, and that because they're overwhelmingly dominated by the left, who are beholden to the Democrat Party. Their plans failed. Listen to me carefully. The plan was to let Hunter Biden get off scot-free. Remember? Remember he was going to get a little misdemeanor charge? What stopped that agenda? What? A federal judge in Delaware appointed by Donald Trump. That judge, Eureka, said, hold on a minute, I smell a rat. The judiciary saved that plot of the enemy from happening. The U.S. District Court of the District of Columbia, they greenlight every motion, every request, every recommendation from the Justice Department. And you know why? Obama knows they own that court. Here's your numbers. Obama in the District Court of Columbia. Obama appointed, there are 15 judges in that district, right? 5, 10, 15 in the D.C. District Court. Out of those 15, Obama appointed 7. Biden has appointed 5, which is 75% of those judges are appointed by Obama and Biden. Joe Biden is appointing them very quickly. There is a plan of attack on America by these satanic people that hate this nation. There are 3 areas that they have attacked. This is their strategy. Watch it carefully. Number 1, education. Number 2, entertainment. Number 3, the media. That's their first level of attack. The radical left knew that dominion over these institutions would be the first step in achieving their goals. Here they are. They got 3 steps to achieve their goals, and I want to break it down to you. Number 1, take control of the Democrat Party. They've done it. Number 2, take control of federal bureaucracy. They've done it. Number 3, take control of the judiciary. Why do you think they're talking about stacking the court, the Supreme Court? Because this is the last part of their plan. They had a 3-part plan. The first 2 has been accomplished. The third one was stopped by Donald Trump. God raised him up to stop them taking the judiciary, the last bastion of hope in America. Let me tell you how successful they have been. Today, let's start with education. Today, liberal professors' education on college campuses outnumber conservatives. Are you ready? Are you really ready? 17 to 1. For every conservative professor, there are 17 liberal professors. In our schools, K through 12, the same thing is happening. In 1968, do you know what the ratio was, liberal to conservative? 2.7 conservatives to 1 liberal. Today, 17 liberals to 1 conservative. What was their plan? Take over education. They've done it. Check. What was their next plan? Remember, I told you education, entertainment, and media. Let's talk about entertainment, how successful they've been. The media, including social media, is so dominated by these people that in 2020, 90% of all donations went to the Democrat Party. Check. Check. Education, media, entertainment. Ladies and gentlemen, when I look at these numbers, I thank the Almighty God that our founding fathers created in their divine insight the Electoral College. Without the Electoral College, we would be a people without hope. Why do you think they want the Electoral College to be taken away? Our founders saw this day coming. The Democrat Party has been leaning towards socialism since the days of Woodrow Wilson, but it was the election of Barack Obama that was the catalyst into fully transforming the party, the Democrat, your grandfather's Democratic Party, into the American Marxist Socialist Party. Dead set on achieving one-party rule in this nation. Obama was determined to fill the judiciary with left-wing judges, and he succeeded. Let me give you the raw numbers. There are 667 district court judges throughout the United States. Ain't that interesting? 667. Interesting. Obama and Biden to date have appointed 371 of those judges, with 63 vacancies that Biden will fill before the end of his term. That gives us 434 liberal judges. We're losing our judiciary. We've lost our entertainment. We've lost our media, our education. The only thing we still have protecting us is a balanced judiciary. Now, out of those 667 judges, 434, 2/3, are liberals. Now let's talk about the Circuit Court of Appeals. Half of those have been appointed by Republicans. And then we have 6 of the 9 Supreme Court justices. So let me show you the numbers. The district courts, 2/3 liberal. But when people appeal, they reach the last echelons of conservative rule. They reach the appellate court, which in that court, the Republicans have appointed half of the circuit court is conservative. Half. 2/3 of the district is liberal. Half and half on the circuit courts. The Supreme Court is the last thing we hold. This is why 2024 means everything. I want these numbers to sink in. You have 3 judiciaries: district, circuit, supreme. We no longer have the districts. We barely have a fair voice in the circuit. And the last thing we have, you see hanging by a thread, is the Supreme Court. After that, the conservative voice in this nation has no more friends, which is why the judiciary is the last bastion of the preservation of constitutional government and liberty. And that's why it's the target of these American Marxists called Democrats. Based on historical averages, if Biden or any Democrat wins in 2024, they will appoint 150 district court judges, giving them full control of our district federal courts. 2024 means everything. We lose it all or we gain it all in 2024. This is not one of those elections we can lose. This is not one of those elections where you can just decide, well, I don't like that about Trump. Get over it. There's more at stake here than you realize. If Biden wins, and he will not, any Democrat wins, 30 to 40% of the circuit court of appeal judges, they'll appoint another 30 to 40. So remember, the circuit court were half and half. Now there'll be 2/3 of the circuit court liberal. The complete district court will be liberal. The circuit court, 2/3. That will result in 595 out of the district court judges, 126 out of 180 circuit courts, liberal, transforming the entire judiciary into a de facto enforcement arm of the Democrat Party. Now let's go to the Supreme Court. Clarence Thomas, Samuel Alito will be 80 years old by 2028, opening up the possibility of swinging the Supreme Court to the radical left. 2024 means everything. I told you tonight this was not hyperbole. I told you I would bring you the raw numbers. I told you tonight was not a hoorah-rah, just, we got to win, we got to win. No, we got to win. We've got to get focused on the fight. If you're discouraged tonight, get over it. If you're worried, get over it. If I don't know what's going to happen. I'm fixing to tell you what's going to happen. What is happening to Donald Trump right now with these indictments is to stop him from stopping them. Because what's happening to Trump right now will not be limited to a political opponent very soon. What you're seeing happen to Trump will soon happen to preachers, teachers, parents. Donald Trump is the prototype for what they want to do to you. So when Trump says they're not after me, he's telling you the truth. It's not me that they want. It's not him that they want. They want him out of the way so that they can get to you. Because if what they're doing to him will work, when they own all the courts, sir, man of God that preaches against homosexuality, that preaches on traditional marriage, traditional families, you, sir, are next. It will be directed virtually to everyone that opposes the policies and the dictates of one-party rule. The desperate indictments of Donald Trump must be a wake-up call to every American, in particular Republican independent voters. These actions underscore the reality that is no longer hyperbole to say that the 2024 election is the most important one since 1860. Do you know what was happening in 1860? We nearly lost a nation. This nation had two opposing forces in 1860, the North, the South. There was such dichotomous anger towards one another. There was no middle of the road anymore in 1860. It was choose you this day. Mothers chose against their sons and fathers against sons. It was that bad. One man rose up and saved a nation. Welcome back to 1860. This election is the beginning or it is the end. The future of this nation hangs in the balance. If the judiciary is held captive by these Marxist Democrats, there is no turning back for America. If Abraham Lincoln had not been elected, America would have crumbled to two sides. Brothers and sisters, 2024 means everything. It's time to get in the battle. It's time to quit worrying and start working. It's time to quit crying and start carrying the load. It's time to quit doubting and start believing. And you say to me, Professor Toto, if those numbers are correct, and they are, what hope do we have? I would like to leave you with that hope tonight. Can I do that? Can I show you why we're going to win? And why God's going to give us one more chance to save America? May I just change hats for a moment? Would you mind if I change hats to Pastor Vaughn? I'd like to bring you to the only truth in the whole world. It's the Word of God. Proverbs 21 and verse 1. The king's mind, or the president's mind, is in the hand of Yahweh. And just like the rivers of water, Yahweh turns the king's mind wherever he wants it to go. What hope do we have? In a God that hears the prayers of his people and that responds to the prayers of his people. He said, if my people, Israel, which are called by my name, Yahweh, if they will believe for America, I will respond to their belief. And you know what he also says? I've got the power to change ballots myself. Brother Vaughn, but they're just going to change the ballots. What God do you serve? Do you think he is bound by ballots? He wasn't in 2016. Brother Vaughn, we got to fix the election. No, we've got to believe in prayer, and then we've got to go out and fight the good fight of faith. God holds the heart of every leader in his hands, his mind. He can transfer that leader, transform him, move him, and then listen to me. I want to show you how God operates. Joel chapter 2, verse 11. And Yahweh will utter his voice before his army. For his camp is very great. He is strong that executes the word. For the day of the Lord is great and very terrible. What does that verse mean? Very simple. Yahweh God does nothing in the earth without his army. Without a group of people that can hear his voice. Now listen carefully. It says Yahweh will utter his voice before his army begins to march. He will send forth the message for his army to rise. He'll raise them up through something called COVID-19. He will raise them up that were asleep. There will automatically be a rising of patriotism, a rising that people are like, whoa, who am I? What happened to me? I'm ready to go into the battle. Thus, they read Joel 2 and 11, and Yahweh utters his voice before he raises up his army. He'll send out a voice. You'll hear a man speaking like me and others. You'll hear a voice calling you to action. And then the Bible says when he utters that voice, that Yahweh's camp, his army, is very great. It may not be very large, but it's very great. And I love this next part. For he is strong that executes Yahweh's word. The army of the Lord, our duty is to hear the word, and we did through Kim Clement. God said he would serve 2 terms. The voice went before the army. Then the army rose up to the voice. And here's what he says about that army. They are very great, and they are strong that executes the word. You see, the word is no good without the army. So when people ask me, what can we do, Brother Vaughn? Professor Toto, what can I do? You can hear the word. You can believe the word. And then you can execute the word. And you can prophesy the word. And you can do what I'm doing right now. Do you know I'm on this microphone tonight executing the word that I heard? I will not let it die. Do you know why some of you listen to me? You heard that word. I've come to tell you tonight, we are very great. Don't you ever diminish the power of prayer. Don't you ever diminish the power of your God that can send an angel to a ballot box and literally reach inside and change anything that God wants changed. Believe for it. Execute the word. When you hear the word, execute it. For 3 years, I've stood before you and executed the word. I've executed it to my enemies. I've executed it to Democrats and my own family. I've stood on the word. And the word is that something was wrong in 2020. We all know it. But something's going to be right in 2024. because 2024, my friend, is the end or it's the beginning. Thank you for watching.
If tomorrow all the things were gone I worked for all my life, and I had to start again with just my children and my wife, I'd thank my lucky stars to be living here today.
'Cause this flag still stands for freedom, and they can't take that away.
Defend her still today, 'cause there ain't no doubt I love this land.
God bless the USA.
From the lakes of Minnesota to the hills of Tennessee, across the plains of Texas, from sea to shining sea,
from Detroit down to Houston and New York to LA,
where there's pride in